These 5 child predators were sent to prison thinking they'd serve life, but they didn't even survive the first few days. One was beaten with a metal bar, another killed just 5 days in, and one, his own cellmate, made sure he never woke up. Today, we're diving into 5 child predators who were instantly killed in prison. And trust me, number 1 is absolutely insane. Let's start with one of the most notorious names in criminal history. Jeffrey Dahmer was one of the most hated criminals in American history. He was sent to prison because he had murdered and sexually abused 17 boys and young men between 1978 and 1991. What made his case even more disturbing was that he didn't just kill them. He also did horrible things to their bodies afterward. He kept body parts, took photos, and even admitted to eating parts of his victims. The details of his crimes shocked the whole world. People couldn't believe how someone could do such things and show almost no emotion about it.
These obsessive desires and thoughts wanting to control them, I don't know how to put it.
In 1992, Dahmer was sentenced to 15 life terms in prison. He was sent to the Columbia Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. At first, he was kept away from other inmates for his own safety. But later, he was moved into the general population, which turned out to be a dangerous decision. On November 28, 1994, just 2 years into his sentence, Dahmer was attacked by a fellow inmate named Christopher Scarver. That morning, Dahmer, Scarver, and another prisoner were assigned to clean the prison gym bathrooms together. For some reason, the guards left them unsupervised. Scarver said he had been planning to confront Dahmer because he didn't like the way he joked about his crimes. According to Scarver, Dahmer would shape his food to look like body parts and pour ketchup on it to look like blood. Other inmates also said he was creepy and disrespectful.
Why did you photograph them?
It was my way of remembering their appearance, their physical beauty.
Scarver picked up a metal bar from the weight room and used it to beat Dahmer badly. Dahmer was rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. He died about an hour later. Scarver also attacked the other inmate, who died later from his injuries. Many people weren't surprised by Dahmer's death. In fact, some believed it was only a matter of time before someone tried to kill him. Dahmer's death shocked the world, but he wasn't the only one. Up next is Richard Delmer Boyer, whose dark past quickly caught up with him inside San Quentin. Richard Delmer Boyer was a convicted child predator who ended up dying inside one of California's most well-known prisons, San Quentin. He had been found guilty of molesting and murdering a child, a crime that disgusts most people, even other criminals. In the justice system, there are terrible crimes, but when it comes to harming kids, many inmates have zero tolerance. That's why people like Boyer are often targeted once they're behind bars. Boyer had been in prison for a while, serving a life sentence. He was originally convicted for a brutal double murder back in the 1980s, but the case involving the child molestation made things worse for him in prison. These types of crimes carry a serious social stigma, especially inside jail. Other prisoners often find out what someone did through prison gossip or news reports. Once they know someone hurt a kid, that person becomes a target. In November 2019, Richard Boyer was found dead in his cell at San Quentin State Prison. The prison officials said that the cause of death wasn't clear right away, and they had to do an investigation. But many people, including other inmates, believed he was murdered, likely by someone who found out about his crimes. Although the prison didn't give out too many details at first, rumors quickly spread. Some said Boyer had been attacked. Others believed he might have been poisoned or strangled. Inmates have their own way of getting revenge, and when it comes to child molesters, they often don't hold back. Whether he was beaten, attacked in his sleep, or killed in some other way, people suspected it wasn't natural. Boyer's end was mysterious, but the next case gets even more violent. Let's talk about John Geoghan, the priest whose crimes made even other inmates furious. John Geoghan was once a Catholic priest, but he became known for something truly horrible. He was found guilty of sexually abusing more than 130 children over many years. His crimes shocked people all over the world, especially because he used his position in the church to get close to young boys and then hurt them. Eventually, the church removed him from the priesthood, which is called being defrocked. But by then, the damage had already been done to so many lives.
Those who criticize the church in through this ordeal and say that it's trying to buy the silence of victims and is trying to make the scandal go away as quickly as possible and are treating it as a public relations problem, how do you respond to them?
In 2002, Geoghan was sentenced to 9 to 10 years in prison for one of the cases against him, but he had many other accusations too. He was sent to a prison in Massachusetts. Just like other child predators, he was placed in a special unit to keep him safe from other prisoners who might want to hurt him. But that protection didn't last long. In August 2003, only about a year after being sent to prison, Geoghan was attacked and killed by another inmate named Joseph Druce. Druce was already serving a life sentence for killing someone else, and he had a history of violence. On the day of the murder, Druce somehow managed to jam the door shut in the cell they shared so no one could get in or out. Then, he strangled Geoghan with a bedsheet and stomped on him until he died. When asked why he did it, Druce said he was angry about what Geoghan had done to children. He claimed he felt like he was doing the world a favor by killing someone who had hurt so many innocent kids. Some people saw it as prison justice. Others thought it showed how broken the prison system was. Geoghan's death made national headlines, not just because of how brutal it was, but also because it raised questions about how the prison allowed it to happen. How did a dangerous inmate end up alone with a child predator in a locked cell? Was it an accident or something more? Either way, John Geoghan never finished serving his prison sentence. Instead, he died at the hands of another prisoner who couldn't stand what he had done. Geoghan's story was brutal, but nothing prepared the world for what happened to James King, a man who didn't even survive a week in jail. James King was a man who went to prison for something truly awful. He was convicted of sexually abusing a 9-year-old child. In 2021, a court found him guilty and sentenced him to time behind bars. But what happened next was something no one expected. Just 5 days after being put in jail, James was dead. He had been placed in a Texas jail and shared a cell with another inmate. At first, everything seemed normal, but things quickly turned deadly. When his cellmate found out why James was in prison, he got extremely angry. The details of James's crime disgusted him. According to reports, the cellmate couldn't control his rage and snapped. He ended up beating James so badly that he died from his injuries. In prison, there's something called the inmate code. Even though many people in prison have done bad things, there's one thing most of them agree on: hurting children is the worst of all. People who commit crimes against kids are usually hated by everyone else inside. Once other inmates find out about those kinds of charges, it's common for them to go after the person responsible. That's exactly what happened to James King. Word of his crime spread fast, and it only took a few days for his cellmate to find out. He probably felt sickened and furious, especially since the victim was such a young child. Some prisoners believe it's their job to punish child abusers if the justice system doesn't go far enough. And while it's never okay to take someone's life, this kind of prison justice happens more often than people realize. James didn't even make it a full week into his sentence. Instead of serving time, he died a violent death in a cold jail cell. Some people felt he got what he deserved, while others pointed out how dangerous it is when inmates aren't properly protected, even the guilty ones. 5 days in and gone, King's story was short and shocking. But our final case, Anthony Palma, shows how prison justice can strike even after years. Anthony Palma was a man who was sent to prison for something truly evil. Back in 1997, he kidnapped and sexually assaulted an 8-year-old girl in Oklahoma. The case went unsolved for years, and people had no idea who did it. But in 2015, Police used new DNA testing and finally caught Palma. The evidence matched, and he was arrested. In 2017, he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without parole. That means he was supposed to spend the rest of his life behind bars. But Palma didn't last that long in prison. In 2019, just 2 years into his life sentence, he was found dead in his prison cell. He had been killed by his cellmate. The prison staff called it an inmate-on-inmate homicide, which means another prisoner murdered him. They didn't say much about how it happened, but most people already guessed why, because of the kind of crime Palma committed. In prison, people who hurt children are treated like the worst of the worst. Even prisoners who have done violent crimes themselves usually hate child abusers. Once other inmates find out someone is in for abusing a child, they often become targets. Many prisoners believe that people like Palma deserve to die, and they don't feel bad about taking matters into their own hands. Palma had been placed in a cell with another inmate, and it's likely that this cellmate found out what Palma had done. Whether it was from a news report, court documents, or just prison gossip, word gets around fast, and once it did, that cellmate decided to act. Some people believe Anthony Palma got what he deserved. They think it's only fair that someone who ruined a child's life faced a violent end. Others say that prisons should do more to keep inmates safe, even the ones who committed horrible crimes. Either way, Palma's death shows how dangerous it can be for child predators in prison. If you found this video interesting, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more shocking stories, and check out the next video we picked just for you.